post-game show. A lot to talk about tonight. We're first going to be getting into the game Roswell versus Gainesville. We're going to bring in our reporter and our score intern, Lacey Dan, to kind of talk about what happened in that game. And Gainesville is back in the state championship game for the first time since 2013. So a lot happened in the game. Let's go ahead and bring Lacey on and get her to talk. And then Craig Sager is going to be joining me a little bit later to break it down. Hey, Lacey, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Yay. It's good. Beat Ross off with a little bit of momentum in the beginning of the game. A touchdown. Gainesville returned that touchdown run to tie the game. After that touchdown, Gainesville really kind of just became dominant. They had a one-handed touchdown catch by Darius Cannon, and then another touchdown. Half minutes left. Roswell then in under 2.5 minutes and had an 86-yard touchdown pass was caught by, and then Roswell came out in the second half. Well, going in a half, 28 to 7. Can you help me out here?
Yes, 28. Yep, 28-7. Yeah. Real quick.
Gainesville.
Yeah, real quick for you. What do you think stood out? I mean, Gainesville had the momentum in that game. They were up 28-7. It was rolling offensively. What do you think allowed kind of Roswell to kind of score and kind of claw their way back into the game?
So, I can say baseball brought their fans. Roswell did as well. I think they went into the locker room in halftime, kind of came out. Gainesville was unable to score and kind of got themselves back in the game. Then after that, Roswell just began, and it got a lot closer. And a few minutes, they were in the end zone and were unable to seconds left. And Gainesville, but I can say that Roswell was also impressive, but Gainesville had a few. The offensive player of the game was their quarterback, right? I'm not exactly sure what his statistics were, but do you have any statistics on him?
No, I don't. I do know he threw for 3 touchdowns, and I wanted to kind of build off of that. How cool was he seen on the sideline, him throwing to Trey Reese, who had multiple touchdowns in that game? Actually, he had 4 touchdowns. He had one to Sky Nibble, the highlight reel catch. I thought that was awesome. And then he threw one to Darius Cannon, and he threw, I think, 2 to Trey Reese. Just how cool was that seeing that on the sideline? And, how was he kind of flinging the football, from your standpoint, Baxter Wright?
It was very, very impressive just to, see them and, in here. Both sides were bringing in the noise. I what was going on.
Yeah, and for you, how good was Caden Smith kind of throwing the ball too for Roswell? I've seen some of them. He was just keeping the play alive. He was setting his feet. He was throwing rockets down the field, and he was hitting his receivers in stride and kind of just on point all night. So what did you kind of see from the junior quarterback from Roswell?
So then he was able to keep his eyes open and really kept moving his feet. He was trying to avoid getting any kind of he was impressive in that aspect, and he passed and attempt to take it.
Yeah, and how good, in your opinion, Lacey, you've seen, I think, games once or twice this year. How good do you think their playmakers are? I mean, they can get up on you quick, fast, and in a hurry. They can get it rolling and go off in big moments. So I seen all game. Obviously it was Darius Cannon, it was Trey Reese, it was Baxter Wright, it was Naeem Cheeks. At some points in the game, just how good are their playmakers?
Say that last part again. It was cutting out.
Yeah, my bad. No, I was saying, how, in your opinion, how good are their playmakers? The Darius Cannons, the Naeem Cheeks, the Trey Reese, just all together? Because, like I said, they seemed like they kept hitting big play after big play after big play.
It's very impressive, especially Darius Cannon, along with number 2 receiver. I believe his name is not. I don't want to mess up his name, but number 12 was very impressive and was catching the balls. He also helped him. Darius Cannon was, had a lot of plays.
Yep. And then for you and your experience, I'm not sure if you've done it before, but just walk me through, how cool it was to do a kind of a semifinal game, in person playoff game with a lot on the line, state championship berth. How was the atmosphere there?
So last year I was able to go to the atmosphere there. Was exciting, but I can tell you that I could feel the energy in the stadium on both sides. I can tell you that this whole entire section over here, as well as this Roswell section over here, they had a lot of energy and the noise that played a bit in it, and it felt like a playoff game, and you could tell there was a lot wanted it.
Yep, and then for you, kind of being on the sidelines, being able to see everything. Just how were the coaches in this game? How was the sideline? Did you hear anything that kind of stood out to you throughout the game? That kind of one either got Roswell back in the game, or just how was that sideline? How did it erupt after they got that late stand for Gainesville?
I can say in a given second they were constantly putting forth their best effort, make plays, score touchdowns, that stuff. They just kept persevering, plays, taking the time to figure out what they needed to do.
Yep. And, one last question, I guess, for you, Lace, before we let you go for tonight. Just what was been your favorite thing about the season? You've done a Corky Kell. You was there for, I think, the event there. I mean, you did a lot, this hot past season. So what was the most rewarding thing for you? What did you enjoy most about the season?
I mean, it's going to be a tough one between School Football Hall of Fame, but both were very meaningful, good experiences, and so cool. But I just love it. Just don't know what to expect. First week of this teams and Mercedes-Benz. See what's going to happen in the next 5-star or who knows. It's a good. I don't know. I think I like.
Right. And then one last question, really, before we let you go. Will you be attending the Georgia Elite Classic this year?
3 days in Rome.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Lacey. We appreciate you coming on the show, doing the postgame with us, kind of letting us know what happened at the game in Roswell. Been a pleasure working with you this season, and can't wait to see you in Rome for the Georgia Elite Classic. Should be a lot of fun.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. That's Lacey Daniel. She came on the show. A lot of fun to have her kind of come on. A lot to talk about. She's done the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, was an inaugural event this year. She's been doing games, throughout the season. She is still in school, high school student, so she's doing a lot. But it was an honor to have her on. I can't wait to look forward to how she covers the Georgia Elite Classic. But let's go ahead and bring on my guy, my brother from the Bacon Network. He does a great job. He covers football, he covers basketball. So I can't wait to bring him on, kind of talk to him and find out what happened in that Carver Atlanta Sandy Creek game. So we're gonna bring him on. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
What's going on, brother? My bad about the bad ladder, but I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, all that matters is that we got you here. We could talk some sports, man. So, man, what's first before we even start about the game, man? What's been your favorite part about covering the football season this year, man?
That's a good question. I just seeing, young men, seeing their dreams come to fruition. The bond that they have on the sideline. That's probably it out of everything. I love seeing the family aspect of football.
I agree, man. And I think you've seen Carver Atlanta. You might have to correct me if I'm wrong, twice this year, or you've seen Sandy. I know you've seen either Carver Atlanta or Sandy Creek twice this year. So what stands out to you, just seeing those both of those teams on, both sides of the ball?
Sandy Creek, since playing to go for a month ago, they've definitely become more disciplined. I talked to them for the biggest just for Carver is my first time seeing them.
He is having an outstanding overall season. He was doing it all.
But that may just be to Sandy Creek powerhouse on defense, but they were solid. They didn't lay down at that much. They were a solid group though, real talented.
Yeah, and then for you, man, just talk about that region. I think you've seen all three of them play this year. Sandy Creek, Carver, Atlanta, Cedar Grove. How good are all three of those teams? They made a semifinal berth, which is not easy to do, but they competed and battled all year. Just what stands out to you from them three teams, just collectively as a whole?
Man, I think one word to describe all three of those teams is electric. Electric. Two words actually. Electric and smash mouth, man. Electric offensive, smash mouth defense. They're gonna let you know. What I'm saying, when they made a play. What I'm saying, when their will is more than yours. So what I'm saying, that's the biggest thing.
Right. And then last year, man, Carver, Atlanta played Cedar Grove actually in the state championship game. They won't be back there this year. Excuse me. It'll be Sandy Creek. What chance do you think Sandy Creek has to kind of match up with Cedar Grove? I mean, they got a lot of familiarity between both of the teams. Just previewing really quick that matchup. What you think about that?
I think it's going to be a close game. The way they played a month ago, it was really close. That game really came down to a couple possessions, even though the score looked otherwise. But I expect the dog fight, man. Jameer Latimer, he was ankles about 80%. He was low obviously, so he wasn't apt to make plays on his feet. The coach said, if I stay 200%, we should see around the field. But I think the dog both talented.
Right, and then in that game, obviously you mentioned kind of Gamir being 80%. He gets another kind of week to kind of heal. Do you think they'll kind of lean more on his freshman running back a little bit to kind of depend on kind of going into that big state championship game? I know his brother plays for the team as well.
Oh, no doubt. His brother is running back. They'll definitely lean on his brother a lot more, and they'll definitely lean on Caleb Cost, who had Caleb Cost and Cam Watts, but Caleb Cost had an incredible game tonight. He had 2 picks. No, one pick, I believe, and like 2 or 3 touchdowns. He was just all over the field, man. You know what I'm saying? Even laid a kid out tonight. It was pretty intense.
Right, and then just talk about kind of their defensive effort. I think they held Carver Atlanta just 14 points, and we've seen them in both games, 12 points, 14 points. How were they just able to both matchups just kind of slow down that offense and just stifle them?
I think it goes back to their discipline in the secondary, man. They were all over the passing airways, batting balls down, playing great coverage. Of course, they got some benefit from their D line. The D line was able to create some pressure. Now they got a few sacks, and it was just great overall game plan by the Sandy Creek coaching staff.
Right, and looking one more time at kind of the state championship matchup, do you think kind of the defense, you mentioned the pressure, you mentioned the sacks, you mentioned them kind of how disruptive they were. Do you think they can do the same thing against kind of Cedar Grove? We know Cedar Grove wants to run the football. They got some really good running backs, DeMarcus Smith, Bowden Walker. They like to run it. EJ Costa can throw that football too. So you think, they'll design any, extra pressures or just try to make them feel uncomfortable in an upcoming matchup?
Yeah, I think they'll definitely. If I was coach, I think they'll blitz a little more. EJ Carlson is a talented quarterback. He get outside the pocket, he can burn you deep. But it's gonna be tough, man. Cedar Grove is explosive, with the freshman wide receiver Devin Carter and Bo. I'm saying his name correctly. It's talented, so it's good. They're gonna have their hands full, but it's gonna be a good effort.
Yeah, I agree, man. And another question too. I know you've been to a bunch of games this year. I guess what's your favorite game you've kind of covered so far this year? I know it's been a bunch of them, but what's one game that stands out to you this season?
One game that stands out to me. I'm gonna say that Carrollton Walton game, man. That was. After beating, I think that was the biggest game for me. Also, doing the East Coast week game, I gotta show some love to the home side.
Yes, sir.
What'd you think of Bryce Hicks in that game? Him getting that big interception, also just how big that play was before the half.
Man, Bryce Hicks is a baller. In my opinion, I'm not sure why he doesn't have more offers, underrated, but it just has a knack for performing in big games. I'm not sure what it is about him. I need to dive in more to the player, the human he is, but cool, calm, and collected. Doesn't really change much. Of course, you see the emotion on the field, but on the sideline, it's just Bryce.
And I got a question too, man. You said obviously you've seen the Carrollton Walton game. I actually was able to kind of call that upset of Walton beating Buford. I kind of had everybody in the office believing, and it actually happened, which is, I wasn't too surprised, but I knew they had a very talented group. But back to Carrollton, how good is, the freshman Julian Lewis and Bryce Hicks? I mean, they go and they handle business against Walton 52-27, and then they go on the road tonight and beat a really good Coker team that hasn't really been challenged all year. So how good is that group?
I think, man, that group is really good, top to bottom. That guy, man. I don't think. I mean, of course, Mill Creek, who they're gonna play at state is gonna be a big test for them. But Carrollton just had so many weapons. You're talking about Bryce, Odom, the tight end, and Juju, man, is another person like Bryce says, cool, calm, and collected. Doesn't let the moment get to him. He's got great parents that keep him grounded, and what I'm saying. Arm talent says it all. The only thing I'll say about Juju is what needs to be improved. It's just his burst of speed down the field. I know he's young, and that'll come. But everything else, man, solid, man. On defense,
yeah, my mom was. Oh, I was gonna say my mom was still beating me in foot races my freshman year of high school. It took me a while too.
For sure. Shout out to my Dukes.
Right. And man, one more thing, man. I ain't gonna hold too much of your time, man. Definitely appreciate you joining. Just for you next week, man. I know you be kind of juggling, football and basketball and kind of, covering both sports, man. What game are you kind of eyeing, or if you've been able to kind of look at that you might go possibly attend for the state championship?
I'm definitely gonna be there for the Sandy Creek Cedar Grove rematch, and I love to see that 7-day matchup. But we'll see. But definitely Cedar Grove, Sandy Creek.
All right.
Yeah, I have one question about Cedar Grove. So we saw them shut out Calvary Day last week, and I just think watching the game, it's not even just the talent they have in the secondary, they're physical up front. It just seems like they're just always in the right position and comfortable defensively. So how huge is that? Just the back-to-back shutouts they've had.
That's big for them. They got a great defense. Great linebacker core. Obviously, we know about Kenny Lee and his brother. They're just solid, man. They're just ball hawks, man. They're real disciplined, well coached. They got a chance to make it a 4-peat.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Five state championships in 8 years. Pretty insane that they've been to. Dominant program. We're hopefully going to be able to talk to Cedar Grove coach Adams. But brother, I want to say thank you so much, man, for joining the show, man. It's a pleasure meeting you this season. I seen you at a couple games throughout the year. The East Carolina-Carrollton game, and I seen you at another one this year too. So I just want to say I appreciate you, man. Me and you keep doing your thing and what you're doing, man. As far as the football and basketball and your coverage, and man, we're gonna definitely stay in touch.
No doubt, man. Y'all be blessed and have a great night.
Yes, sir. We'll see you, man. Be blessed.
I think he's right, though. I think if Julian Lewis gets a little bit faster, which I just think that's something that naturally happens. No one's their fastest their freshman year.
Yeah.
And so he makes a great point. He'll be really dangerous.
Think back to your point, too, when you mentioned Hayden Clark and you said, I think he's kind of taking that jump with his athleticism and he's able to kind of run now and burst. And think about it. He's in his senior year. So as you mentioned, I think that's kind of the same thing. He'll obviously work on that with a trainer, and obviously he'll work on his footwork, agility training, kind of to get faster and, improving things like that. But to be a freshman and lead your team all the way to a gauntlet of a 7A to a state title, I think this is a lot to his talent and his ability.
100%. Do you think Hayden Clark is healthy? I know he went out of the game with some arm injury.
Like a stinger. I think it was more of a precautionary reason, in my opinion, why he kind of went out. I don't think it was not too serious. I think it was like, okay, we got the game in hand. Let's not risk it. We're going to need him for next week when we play in the state title game.
Yeah, and he did. I think it was like a 12-yard touchdown run, and that's not easy. That Milton defense is fast, and he was able to beat him outside and get downfield. I think they mentioned he had shaved his 40 time down to like a 4.5 something. So that's just a kind of a deceptive speed that he has. But man, Mill Creek impressed me in that the way they came out in the first half tonight. They looked really good.
No, they did. And we're gonna actually recap all the action across 7A, but we got 3 coaches waiting on us. So we're gonna talk to all these coaches, and then me and Craig gonna go through a deep dive and get into everything that happened and give our thoughts. Real quick, Jordan Vandergriff is Warner Robins. Correct?
Prince Ave.
We're going to bring on Vandergriff, and then we're going to do Westbrook, and then tell Coach Adams we're going to bring on one next. Right. Okay, so Vandergriff, Westbrook, and then Adams. All right? Hey, Coach, thank you so much for waiting. How you doing today?
Good, man. I appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah, you good? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the invite.
Of course, we wanted to definitely get into the game. Coach, you guys clinched a state title berth. I mean, it was a really good game, kind of a back and forth affair, 14-14 at the half. You guys get a big play from Aaron Philo. Just talk to me his performance in this game. What really stood out to you in his victory against St. Francis, a team that would not back down.
Well, he just stayed in yardage, passing yardage. So, and man, we caught him in some zone stuff, and he's been last 2 years thrown for over 8,000 yards in those 2 years. What else can you say? Great job like that.
Yeah, and Coach, I remember when you talked to me last year, you had the 3 1,000-yard receivers. We talked about how I've just never seen that happen at the high school level. So, I mean, how much talent in that department were you guys replacing this year? And then what have you seen just to be able to continue offensively the way you guys have and put yourselves in a position to win another state title?
Well, it's fun. Back to we had a lot of big plays, 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, and one of them was one of their secondary, and made a big catch, was running down the sidelines, and our kid team at the 2-yard line. So it probably was the play of the game, and we come and we went down forward and.
Yeah, Coach. Sorry, it broke up a little bit. But I saw Aaron Philo was he able to rush for 2 touchdowns tonight?
I think John Rogers rushed for 2, and he threw another one.
Okay.
Keon rushed for 2. He threw 1, and that was our 3 touchdowns. We kicked the field goal. I was saying the play of the game was one of our kids let one of their guys get behind us, and Christian stripped the ball from the kid that was about on the 2-yard line about to go in, and saved us, and then obviously preserved the win.
Awesome. So that was in the 4th quarter when he punched it out.
Yeah, in the 4th.
And one more time, who was the player that made that play? Ethan Christian. Okay.
Yes.
And then I know it was tough for your team when Bailey Stockton went out. I mean, what have you just seen from them in terms of just stepping up and keeping this thing moving?
Well, Bailey, Region Player of the Year, our best player on off. It's taken about 5 kids to replace him, to be honest. He was our punter, and so Josh Britt stepped up really well. Gaines Scoggins has stepped up. Our punter had a 61-yard punt tonight. He stepped up. So a whole team effort just to get to this far, and we're going to have our hands full with Swainsboro.
And I know I want to focus on the game, but I mean, what did you see from Bailey? I know it's tough for him not being out there, but just to see his teammates rally and get this really big win against the St. Francis team that has been making history this season.
Well, Bailey's, just been a great leader on the sideline. He's helped this. When they come off the field, he talks to them about things he sees, and he might get out there for a few plays next week.
And then what did you see from St. Francis? I mean, Coach Barden's done a great job there. They made it kind of a upward trajectory year after year. They were having a historic season, but what did you see tonight just from their level of play and just what they brought to the table?
I know how much you know about them. Their O-line's like 6'5", 6'8", 6'3", 6, and they're all sophomores. And so everybody seeing these guys the next 2 years because they're going to be unbelievable.
And coach, coming into the season, was this what you envisioned? I know every coach has different things. Some say, they want to get up to their highest potential, but was a state title, kind of in this team's, wheelhouse and what you expected kind of coming in and then, spring, spring camp and, kind of going into the season.
Well, we had 9 starters back on offense on a team that went to the state championship. 6, honest, we're sort of right where I thought we would be, but you still have to win the ball game adversity. So we've been fortunate enough to be number 1 in preseason. We maybe go wire to wire.
Yeah, and Coach, I remember now, my memories were fresh. Last year, you felt like you guys were playing with house money because you were so young offensively. You end up taking the whole thing. But what did these last 2 wins kind of prepare your team for another big showdown in the championships, just playing 2 tough football games back to back?
You had to have grit. I mean, we got the ball with 5:40 left in the game and just turned it over to our offensive line. And then we told them if we can get 3 first downs, the ball game's over. From our 20 down to their 20 and ran the clock out. So like that we hadn't been able to do in the last few years that has made this team better.
And then how good are I think you got 2 Rogers on your team that both listed on Max Reps as wide receiver, cornerback. How good are both of those for your team? And then, are they brothers?
One's a black kid, one's a white kid. Not that they couldn't be brothers.
Yeah, I had to ask, but yeah, what kind of impact have they had? I think, obviously one of them scored for you tonight, but just talk about how good both of them has been, just playmaking wise for your offense.
Keon has really, it's been phenomenal. He's had a great year. It's awesome because he's just a wonderful young man, and he's a little jitterbug, 5'8", probably about a. And the irony is, today I turned in like I wrote him at 3:00 today. Was Keon Rogers, and after the game tonight. So hats off to that kid. The other kid, Brody Rogers, he's our trainer. He's a sophomore, and he's just hanging in there, doing what sophomores do.
Yeah, and then, Coach, I have one more question. Just what do you think about this upcoming matchup? I know you haven't looked too much into it, but just the overall landscape in Class A Division I.
Well, from everything I've heard, they're just unreal athletically and play real physical. And anxious to see the film tomorrow sometime, and just get that start working on getting. We're going to roll over to the SEC championship and watch Brock cheer for his team. Be playing this time next year, and so after we do that, we'll get back and watch some film again.
Yes, sir. Well, we want to say good luck to your team in the state championship, Coach. Thank you so much for just taking this time tonight to come on our show, our post-game show, and it was a pleasure talking to you, and good luck next week.
Thank you so much, and football. Take care.
Yeah, congrats. I'm going to check out that Ethan Christian play, though. We'll give him a shout-out. I like those effort plays.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Take care.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Take care. All right, guys. So that was Prince Avenue Christian. They are back in it. We're going to bring on Marquise Westbrook, Warner Robins coach, kind of talk to him and kind of see, what happened in their game. So let's go ahead and bring him in. What's going on, Coach? We appreciate your patience. How you doing?
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man. We got another shot.
Yes, sir. And just kind of walk me through the game tonight, Coach. How was it going for your team? How surreal of a feeling it was to know that you clinched a state final berth.
Good, man. I mean, just the flow was, first locked at 3-3. It was kind of, they hit us on, and we had good red zone defense early on. They stopped us a couple times in the red zone. Ended up being 3-3 in the first quarter. Were able to move the ball pretty, but we were able to second quarter score a touchdown. We had to go without big man pack, opened up the lead 9-3, 10-3, and we was 20-3 at that. We just played lights out on defense. The Carter's been a really good football team. Our guys stepped up, good run defense, and we're able to get. I think we opened up the second. We went down and scored on them, and from there we were able to run 20, and they were able to kick a field goal, make it 26-6. I'm trying to remember the game, but I think our guys are hard all night, man. And the score was 35-10. Second half, it was a point where we by Rayshawn Dinkins, one of our sophomores now, and that was just the show's back. We were able to run the ball effectively on film. I mean, they were really good defense. Were able to run the ball on them effectively tonight.
Yeah, one of the things Rusty said on the broadcast, he goes, if you think the Georgia Bulldogs lost a bunch of players from last year's team, you should see Warner Robins. They replaced a ton of people, but what did you see from them in the second quarter to just kind of pull away in that game, have that confidence, go into the locker room and know that you guys have a chance to make it to the finals once again?
I think it was much more the mindset of our anything too much differently. I mean, we made a cut. It wasn't like wholesale adjustment, from the box or anything. I think our kids just wanted it more this season. We 1-4 in the beginning. There was no talks of us even, much less the state championship. And our kid had 24 minutes left in the ball game. Go out there and seal the deal. And I think our defense made a score. We gave up one third down conversions, which were coverages. But they wanted it really bad for wrong because this senior class was, you said, we lost some really good, and a lot of people didn't give these guys on the shoulder tonight to get us over the hump.
Yeah, I think once you guys started 1-4, people were just saying 5A looks really open this year. Obviously, you guys are back in it once again, but I mean, I do think Class 5A this season has been wild, especially the last round in the quarterfinals. I mean, there were just so many close games. So talk about how that overtime win against Creekside really just helped your team just mentally kind of bond together playing a tough game like that.
Man, it was a really, Creekside, a really good, great job, those kids up there. And we knew it was going to be a close game. It was a case, could have, probably in the end, but we got a penalty on the side field goal range. We had to run a trick play and didn't get it and pushed it in overtime, first in overtime, and stopped on 4 downs, and they knew right then. We had already put sideline to say if we do get a chance, we're going to Barber, who's a phenomenal kicker for us. We'll go and win it right in the end. It was just a lot of ebbs and flows in that football game for us. And to be honest, man, it was just and to win that game, man. Those man, they were really live in that place, which is a tough place to play. Win for our team and a momentum and a solid boost for our kids in our program.
And what's kind of been your favorite thing about coaching this group this year, Coach? I mean, obviously, you lost a lot of players, but new players, new faces, new roles, starting in the roles. What's been your favorite thing about the group this year?
I would say they're the most tight-knit group in the world, or the most talented 5 stars, anything like that. And man, they go um and they but and they're back, and they're gonna be remembered in my mind, the ones who weren't given it, the ones who were probably riding coattails left, but they proved people. Now we have a chance to go ahead, and so we got work to do. So they're gonna.
Yeah, and then you talked about your kicker, Daniel Barber. I mean, he has been huge this season. So talk about how important that's been for him to just get you guys on the board, keep you guys in striking distance when you're able to have these big runs like you had in the second quarter.
Yeah, man, it's that weapon. Jackson McCook, our punter who flips the field, just makes our kicking game tremendous. We know at certain points in the game, we got four down to kick it. We got that option, that decision making at critical situations makes it a lot easier when you can automatically get 3, or we can go for it. But we made a 50-yarder early in the season, lights out the whole season, make points.
Yeah, and then people that are kind of catching in late to this season, they're going to see you guys in the state championship and say, oh, it's the 6th straight year, but they might not know kind of what you guys had to battle through early in the season and gain that confidence. So how would you I know you did earlier, but just characterize this year's team compared to these other runs, and just kind of what you've seen this year specifically?
So earlier, man, I mean, nobody gave them underdogs. And look at us on paper. You see the 4 losses, some really quality teams, by the way. We were always the favorites in the years. Frank won, and we stayed there for a while. Took a couple of dips in the past couple of our region, the last, so to speak. But last couple of years, and this year, wrote us off. They didn't give us a chance, and now that rally is going to just circle the wagons. The team, they stuck with it. Teams that just fall apart when they lose the way we did, but they stuck with it, and it's been a really special.
Yeah, your region was outstanding, and then you mentioned just how tough those early games are. So you guys are certainly battle tested, and yeah, that is a great win over Cartersville tonight. Really impressive with that, and that's back-to-back great wins. I mean, you talked about the Creekside one too. They were so red hot heading into that matchup. So I just think it's outstanding to see you guys get back in this state championship again. It wouldn't be the same without you guys.
I appreciate got some work to do, man. Ware County is pretty tough. A great job with them. We got our hands and just put our best foot forward and try to keep this right direction, man. I thank y'all for having me on.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you joining the show, Coach. Good luck next week in the state championship game. Thanks so much for just taking the time to talk to me and Craig, and we really enjoyed you.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night.
You too, sir. Thank you. All right, guys. So that was Warner Robins, coach. Big victories. They beat Creekside in overtime 31-28, and they handled business against Cartersville 35-10. They face a very tough Ware County team, but it should be a good one. We're going to bring on our, I believe, final guest, Cedar Grove. We had them last week in our big TV game. They played Calvary Day, shut them out. They got another shutout win today against Oconee County, 23-0. So I want to talk to Coach, find out what's going on over at Cedar Creek. How he's feeling being back in the state championship. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
You guys can hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm doing well, man. How y'all doing?
Can't complain, man. We glad you was able to join the show.
No problem.
Yes, sir. And we'll go ahead and get into it, Coach. So, I talked to you last week before you guys played Calvary Day. Told me about some of the weapons, but I wanted to just talk about the defense first and foremost. I mean, 2 straight shutouts, Coach. You stopped a very good Calvary Day team last week. They got 4-star Jack Merklinger. They have a really good tight end that's heavily touted. How has your team been able to do it in back-to-back weeks? We know how talented it is on the defensive front. You got Najeh Green, Louisville commit, 4-star. You got Everett Russo. How are you able to pitch 2 straight shutouts against some pretty good, teams offensively?
We just had a good week of preparation both weeks. We're doing a Thanksgiving break to actually study film. The guys are working really well in practice, so I think that gives us an edge in each and every game that we come in contact with. Man, they got out there tonight, and offense, and one thing we do is reward them, when they play well. So I think they deserve it, and this week as well too.
Yeah, well, we got to watch you last week, and I think with Calvary Day, you guys knew they're going to try to pass the ball. You guys did a great job of forcing them into those third and longs. You guys got after it all night defensively, but this Oconee County team, they wanted to run the ball, and it looks like you guys just stifled them just on the ground. They're a tough team, but just talk about the defense, the way they've come out in these last few games and just gotten better each week, and just how you have them so well prepared week in and week out.
I think just like you said, man, they just got better every week. I think they trust each other. I told them tonight, man, the biggest thing, so anytime you communicate well, everybody on the same page, the results. I commend them for that, man. I commend them for trusting in me. I've been on them pretty hard, man, but, they figure out, they have fun, they make plays, and they're successful.
And Coach, tell me kind of the luxury it is to have as many, talented running backs you have. Obviously, you have Bowden Walker, who's a sophomore, but then last week we saw, DeMarcus Smith go off for a touchdown, and we seen your other running back have a really good game. So how cool is the coach just, constantly be able to have those fresh legs, throughout the fourth quarter when you're trying to milk away the game and kind of seal it?
It's a blessing, man. I don't know if you guys know, but Bowden was season. So it was great. We had a little bit of depth, man, for guys to come. Quinterio Lawson had a really good game tonight. That's number 2, and then who came in, and he's real physical back, man. He just runs with a lot of anger. And Card Ponder even got in number 16 and pounded it a little bit. So you can run the ball well, man. You can control the clock, and you can control the game.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about your quarterback, E.J. Colson, this season, just kind of what he's done, the job he's done just running this offense, keeping you guys in the game, making the big plays you need, and just these accurate passes.
So E.J. is, just a sophomore, man. He's real mature. This is his second year in our system, man. So he's just growing as a quarterback, a high school football player, man. And so he can kill you on beat. He's like you said, he's very accurate, man, and he has a lot of, it's a blessing to have him. He can extend plays, man. As a coordinator, you draw up all these defenses, and regardless of what your quarterback like EJ, man, he finds a way. So I'm just glad he's on our team and on our.
And I just love what the Cedar Grove program does. It's like when you wear that Saints across your chest, I mean, people know what the program has accomplished, but it's pretty much just you put this jersey on, we're going to play the toughest schedule in the state, if not the country. And you guys have done it this season. It's so impressive, just week in and week out. Boom, 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 all these tough opponents. So just talk about how big that's been just to represent the Cedar Grove program, go out there week after week and just have all these big showouts against highly ranked teams?
So me and my coaching staff was kind of might have did an interview last week. It's about 6 or 7 teams that we play in the quarterfinals, you know, and I think I heard somebody on the show say tonight, man. So it was a very challenging schedule. It's crazy even making that schedule like that. But one thing I know about guys at Cedar and even the community, man, they just rise to the occasion. You know, we all know that's why you play the game. You know, it don't matter what kind of rankings or what kind of it's my guys against your guys when that clock starts. So with that mindset, man, hard, and you know, we focus on the small things, man, and I think we all when we playing in any team we're playing against.
And coach, how good is that region? I mean, for the second straight year, you got, you know, another team you're going to be facing instead of Carver Atlanta last year. This year it's going to be Sandy Creek. But how good is your region, coach? I mean, three of the teams out of that region made the semifinals, and now 2 of them are going to go head to head and battle for a state title. So how good is that region, coach, when you face it each year? And you know, speak to kind of the familiarity and you know what you kind of tell your kids, being that you know the opponents kind of know each other so well.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle, you know, with Carver and what Coach Miles is doing and Coach Garvin over at Sandy Creek. And so, you know, after we get done with the regular season, you know, whether I think all of us have a shot at going deep in the playoffs. We all got really good ball players. And that shows because, you know, you got, like you said, you know, threes, man. So looking forward to the opportunity in the state championships. Garvin, tonight, me and them congratulated each other, and you know we're gonna just get it.
Yeah, and I think in that game, Carver had an early 8-0 lead. It was 8-7 at the end of the first. I think the big play that just put all the momentum in Sandy Creek's favor, it was like a 4th and 12. They go for it, and it turns into a big play, a touchdown. So, I mean, you've played them before. They have an aggressive offense, a really good quarterback. So is that kind of what you expect just in the state championship, them to go for it on these 4th downs, be aggressive, and just try to do anything to stay on the field against your defense that's so good at getting teams off the field on 3rd downs?
I mean, I think at age, man, it's whatever it takes. You can't say or the quarterfinals or the state championship. So whether it's 4th down, you know, definitely with that quarterback, man, it sounds like he got a lot of trust in him. I'm tired of playing. Last time we played against each other, man, I'm glad you're a senior. But apparently we're gonna start preparing for him tomorrow. And like I said, good showing. I heard somebody earlier talk about, you know, they was interested in Sandy Creek matchup, you know. So hopefully we get a good crowd out. I know and I know the Sandy Creek community will come too, and I think it's going to be a really, really good game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the best ones for sure. I mean, but back to just the schedule you guys put in front of yourselves this season. You only had the 3 region games, so you can either go one or two way. You guys went all in. I mean, talk about just – I mean, you guys play a tough schedule every year, but this season in particular, you guys have won the state championships in the past. People know how good you are, but to be able to have the success you guys did against this schedule, what does that just say about the program and just Cedar Grove's overall role in just elevating Georgia high school football as a Class 3A school that's playing anyone? They'll play anyone.
I definitely think we made a statement. You know, I scheduled a bunch of big games. You know, not my team better, but make us better as a coaching staff. Like I want to challenge myself. I'm just out there, so I'm trying to get better. I'm a young guy, and I think those powerhouses, those competitive games, man, You learn a lot about yourself. You learn what you do well. You learn what you don't do well. And I think it makes you a better coach, a better team, and a better program.
Yeah, I'm gonna just call it what it is with Cedar Grove. It's an elite program. To face that kind of schedule and go 9-2 before going kind of to the playoffs, y'all doing something special down there. You got great athletes, great people, great coaching staff, great community. So shout out to Cedar Grove and what they're doing, coach, and what you're implementing there. And next year, coach, are we going to see you play? Obviously, I probably don't answer this, but we're gonna see you play another powerhouse, maybe like a Texas school or a Florida school or a California school, just to kind of make things interesting.
I'm down South Florida schools, man, because they kind of reneged on us this year, looking for some big games. Got some stuff in the works, and some compelling half, next year.
Yeah, and this all comes on the cusp of the spring when Cedar Grove just dominated the NFL draft. So, I mean, it's really been a special year. I think all the years you guys have been just elevating and just playing outstanding and going out there on the field, it's really showing. And, yeah, you guys rose to the challenge this season, just what you guys put in front of yourself. So congratulations on making it back to the big game, Coach.
Appreciate it, man. Them got that Cedar Grove. Like, I was here when those three guys, the Justin Schaefer's, Jelani Woods, who had, I think, 9 catches for 89 yards last week. So, we just, the kids are just following in their footsteps. They set the standard, and we just trying to continue the tradition.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks again, Coach. We won't take up no more of your time. We'll let you kind of get to some rest, some celebratory, and then get into film tomorrow and get ready for the state championship matchup. But always a pleasure talking to you, Coach, and thanks again for coming on the post-game show, and congrats to Cedar Grove.
Appreciate y'all anytime. Thank y'all. And have a good night.
Yep. Thanks for coming on.
You too. Yes, sir. All right, that was Cedar Grove coach. John Adams doing an exceptional job. Thanks for all the people that have been tuning in. We got 6 people. It's been about 3 to 4 the whole time, so we appreciate you guys. You guys must like our content, so definitely thanks a lot. Jimmy Cash, man, that comment below. We know you're kind of one of our loyal followers. I had a question for you. What did you think about 7A football? Not even 7A. What do you think about playoff football, GHSA? Throughout the kind of the playoffs, how it was. What do you think about the semifinal round? Comment what kind of game kind of stood out to you. And then, we're going to actually obviously comment on it and, give our thoughts on it. But let's break down some action, man. Sure. Happened, So let's go ahead and get into it. We got a lot of games and recaps. Go to scoreatl.com. We are streaming live right now on YouTube and Twitter. So obviously some big results. Let's get into the big one. I mean, Mill Creek, Milton, 48-14. I actually had this as an upset. I know you guys can come for me in the comment section. I had Milton winning. I believe so much in what they're building as a program. Obviously, they're going to be elite, I think, for years to come. But, I mean, I was shocked. I'm not going to lie to you. But Mill Creek is just on a different level. And I talked to Craig, and I said, I think they've played an elite level of defense ever since that Buford game. They've been shutting out opponents. Their last 2 regular season games, they shut out Decula. They shut out another team. It was like 45-0, 35-0, I think. And they're just playing at a different speed and different level. And I think, Milton you kind of faced the buzzsaw tonight. And I think this is a team that wants to get back a lot of seniors, a lot of experience on that group. Team that made, I think it was the semifinal last year or the quarterfinals last year.
Milton beat them in the semis last year.
That's ironic. Yeah, and they're playing again in the semis. So, I mean, I think that says a lot. And this year they won it. You can see the difference. And, I mean, man, Hayden Clark, guy that's kind of slept on. I think he has no stars. I'm not sure if he has many D1 offers. But, I mean, the guy's just been balling. I think it was 8 for 9, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. He played exceptionally well. Fortunately, he got hurt with a stinger, but I think he kind of had his – not saying he can't have it in the state championship game, but I think he kind of had his marquee game and kind of put his stamp on the first half. Him and Mikael Wood, Eastern Michigan commit, put their stamp on that game early.
Yeah, I completely agree. So Milton has a sophomore quarterback. He already has all these rankings. Meanwhile, you have Hayden Clark, a senior. He's been playing outstanding in this RPO system. They're running a college system at the high school level. Let's just be honest. And then he came out and caught Milton sleeping with Mikael Wood. I mean, those were perfectly timed throws. He had a big arm. And then Mikael Wood we talked about Milton. Coach Reeves said he thought he had the best safety group in the entire state, and they just came out and stunned him with the big plays to Wood, who had, I think in the first 13 minutes of the game already had like 150 yards receiving, 60 yards on kickoff returns, and then 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, he had a breakout game as well. We saw him against Walton too, came through very clutch. And then Hayden Clark comes out of the game. You think, uh-oh, this might be Milton's opportunity to get something going. And then what happens? Shane Throgmartin comes in and throws a dime to Mikael Wood. They catch Milton again. So what'd you just think of the overall game plan? I think since Mill Creek had such success last week stopping the run against Grayson, held them to 22 yards, they probably were like, okay, we're going to need to stop Cam Robinson. We're going to need to stop this Mill Creek offense. But they just came out aggressive throwing the ball. So I think that just shows this Mill Creek offense might be for real. So I don't know what to expect in the championships at this point, but I think Mill Creek showed the state a big statement win tonight. That was epic.
Yeah, they showed you that they're not one-dimensional in any way. I mean, you might think, okay, Cam Robinson, I think he had a playoff game this run. He had 4 touchdowns. You think, okay, well, they can't throw it with Hayden Clark. No, they can, and they showed that in the first half. Or they can throw it with Throckmart. Oh, no, they can, and that's what they showed. They were just hitting dimes and dimes and dimes all night long. And I'm not gonna lie to you. One word for me is shocked, because as he mentioned, they had one of the best. You could make the argument secondary safeties maybe in the nation, possibly, with Robert Billings. I think he's a 3-star. He's committed to Clemson. Then you got Bryce Thorne, a 4-star, committed to Florida. You got DeBron Gatling, who has over 25, 30-plus offers. I mean, it was shocking. And Mikael Wood just went off. And, obviously he's great. He's talented. He's really good. But that was a shocker for me. I thought it was going to be a back-and-forth game. But I wasn't the biggest fan of the game plan offensively for Milton. I thought, they did try to run it some, but I thought when those early shots didn't work, they didn't establish enough of a rhythm offensively. And I think that's what kind of stood out. They had like that big first drive, 51 yards, and after that was 2 total yards. I think you got to be able to establish more of a rhythm. Get the ball to your playmakers. I think they should set up some more flare screens, some bubble screens, some in-breaking routes to their playmakers, DeBron Gatling. And, Bryce Thornton was obviously used offensive. I think if they would have did that a little bit more and, let the run build into the pass, I think they would have been better. But then when you're at a standpoint when you're one-dimensional, you have to throw the football. You can't really depend on your run as much. I mean, I think it's tough. So, I mean, again, this is no shade to Milton. I had them winning this game. Milton did a marvelous job this season. I mean, nobody had them winning their 5th straight region title. Nobody had them going this far to state semifinal. So, Ben Reeves, that program, Empire, Flusher We Ball, they did a great job. They're going to be back. They got a lot of young talent. It sucks for the seniors like Robert Billings and obviously Bryce Thornton, but they're going to have Luke Nichols going to come back. They're going to have DeBron Gatling back for his senior season. Scott Maskell is going to graduate, but then they're going to have, some underclassmen kind of step up in some key spots. So, I mean, they'll be back. They had a great run this year.
Yeah, and as much as we say maybe Milton should have had a different game plan, Mill Creek had a perfect one. I thought defensively, those early shots they were taking, that secondary for Milton is the real deal too. It's not just Caleb Downs back there.
Yeah.
Trajan Greco,
who was receiver last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was all over those Milton receivers who have had an outstanding year. And then, I was just impressed just watching Mill Creek's offense operate, because not only was Mikael Wood like red hot, I mean, he was getting wide open. And they're just hitting him on the dime. So it's like, it's one thing where it's like, okay, Cam Robinson's getting tough carries, but it's like the offense was clicking to such like perfection early on. The game was pretty much over in the first 13 minutes. And that's what was shocking about it, to just see how well Milton's defense is played, not just in the secondary, the disruptive force up front, and to see Mill Creek go out and play that well. It was just really eye-opening to see how well they played and just what their offense looks like when it's at full go.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk too about Jamal Anderson, a player I definitely didn't do enough scouting on. He's a Clemson commit. That guy was flying around to the football early in the game, and he really makes their linebacking core go. So they got some studs, and I obviously I misread Mill Creek. I knew they were good, but what I saw tonight just really, surprised me. And shout out to them for getting to their first ever state championship game. And also in GPB, it was great game. But, I think we did a good job of, Score Atlanta and Peachtree TV of getting a good game because both of the games were blowouts. So at least we had a competitive back and forth game that came down to kind of the wire. But real quick, before we get into some more, I want to address the comment kind of from Jimmy Cash. He had some great comments here. Just talk about it really, really quick. Two surprising teams he said thought was, Carrollton and Warner Robins. He thinks the Benedictine and Cedartown game will be very competitive. And he says he thinks Langston Hughes should compete for a national championship. What do you think about those?
Ooh, that's going to be tough. So let's start with the Hughes because I was telling Najeh about it. The Cal Preps, that's one of the top national rankings. They came out this last week. They had Mill Creek at number 9. So that's Mill Creek at number 9 before this massive win. They'll obviously weigh in the fact that they beat them by 34 points.
Yeah.
And then Hughes was probably the next highest. They might have been in that 14 or 15 range. So I definitely think either one of those could potentially play a national championship game. I just think who's it going to be? Because one of them, I think, will get the invite. I mean, we've seen it before. I think Collins Hill did it last year. They ended up maybe falling to either a California school or something. But, yeah, I think a national championship invite is certainly on the line. And I think you might have to give it to Hughes considering that they're the only undefeated team.
So explain this to me really quick because I don't know how that works. So is it just one team from each state? Is that kind of how it goes?
I think they might have invited it's 8 total teams. They kind of play 4. I'm not sure. I'd have to check into that.
Okay.
But we'll see.
They should invite both, though, if they can.
Yeah.
I mean, I think both of are exceptional programs. I mean, obviously, Mill Creek is only one loss all season to a dominant Buford team, that was kind of upsetted. And then, Langston Hughes is kind of ran roughshod over all the competition. So, I mean, I think they're kind of your shoe-in pick. But, I mean, Mill Creek should be invited too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And as I said, though, I think in that situation, you would have to give it to Hughes. They come out and have another huge win over Gainesville next week because Gainesville will be ranked in that top 50, top 25, probably too nationally, just with their undefeated record. So I think Hughes is in position to do it, and I would love to see that. I'd love to see Hughes actually play a close game at the end.
No, I agree. And what do you think about that? You've been high on Benedictine all year. What do you think about them playing Cedartown and then kind of that championship game out there in 4A?
Yeah, I think them stopping Troops' explosive offense, the way they did today, that just shows they have a really great game plan. Yeah. Troops' offense is so versatile with Teo Todd. He was leading them in rushing, leading them in passing. He was doing multiple jump passes. He can do it all. He's that electric. So you can't really game plan in terms of just, we're going to beat him with this coverage. It's no, you have to have a guy that's tracking him the entire time. So I think that says a lot about their defense. But Cedartown, I mean, the biggest thing they have going for them by far is this senior class. Rusty was talking about it. There's a photo of them playing together since they were 5 years old. They've been working out together, playing with each other. We saw the same sort of thing with Trinity Christian last year and their seniors. It's the plays they were making in the clutch situation, you can't coach that in one off season. It's that comes from kids that have just been playing together for a long time. I think they have that with Eli Burrow defensively. Patrick Gardner, he's outstanding. He breaks off huge runs every single game. And then Reese Tanner at quarterback. I just think they're so physical, and then their defense has been great. It's going to be a really tough matchup for Benedictine, but Benedictine's quarterback, he's going to FSU. So there is a contrast of style, but I do definitely think those are the best teams this season. And Benedictine, they haven't lost within Class 4A this year. I think their only loss was to an out-of-state team, and then they lost to Ware County. But look at what they've done this year. So I think it will be a great one.
Yeah, I think it will be too. I mean, obviously they got that rushing attack dominant, 442 yards in their game previous to this one. Harlem Diamond, I think, had 3 touchdowns in this game. He's been having a great season. The guy's just been balling a freaking stud. And, Reese Tanner had a touchdown in that one as well. But, yeah, that's going to be a good game. I can't wait to see kind of what happens in that one. Let's talk about Carrollton, though. Carrollton and Mill Creek. I mean, this is a really interesting game. I really thought it was going to be Mill Creek and Colquitt. I think Jimmy Cash actually last week said that's probably going to be the state title game. But, I mean, that Juju Lewis magic is something special. I mean, a freshman quarterback goes all the way to the state title game in a really tough gauntlet, 7A. playoff round, I think that says a lot. What he's doing. Bryce Hicks is obviously underrated. In their game last week against Walton, he had 5 touchdowns, 3, I think, rushing, 2 through the air, receiving. He's a great, running back for them. But I'm not sure what happened in that game, but 35-27, I know, was a score. Had to look at the stats, kind of see what happened statistically. But I think he's been having a great season all year long. And I mean, that group they're special, man. But when they face another, kind of a buzzsaw in Mill Creek, who's not playing no games. Obviously, it's a lot of experience and seniors on this group, and they want to win it all. So can the young studs of Carrollton get them a match?
It's gonna be tough. I think I've been impressed with Julian Lewis, just the way he's handled the moment, handled the offense. But Bryce Hicks continues. I'm trying to figure out if Bryce Hicks threw a touchdown pass today, because Max Prep said he did. But either way, he ran in a touchdown. He did it all once again. I think Bryce Hicks has been more than just a Swiss Army knife. I mean, he's kept that offense moving no matter what. He's so dangerous. Defense always paying attention. But I think we're going to have to see a truly phenomenal performance by Julian Lewis for them to defeat Mill Creek. I mean, it would have to be so epic. It would go down in history as like the most epic freshman moment ever. It's like, that's going to be such a big test. But I mean,
do you think they have the athletes though, like to contend with them, like the Caleb Odoms, the Bryce Hicks, the receivers they have? You think they can make enough stops defensively too?
They definitely have the athletes outside, but I think just with Mill Creek, it's like there's such a good balanced system. It's like he's going to have to be that guy too. It's like he's just going to have to be the leader offensively, find the open guys, not miss opportunities. If a guy's open, you got to hit him right there, and there's no second chance. You got to take advantage of every big play. I think if he does that, we've got a really special player to be watching the next few years. I mean, winning a state title as a freshman, Carrollton going up against 7A, going up to 7A. I mean, he'd become 5-star overnight. I think he already is, but I mean, he'd be a lock. I mean, that's just
And have everybody. I mean, people are calling now. I mean, you have practically everybody: SEC, ACC, Pac-12. But let's talk about Gainesville in our game versus Roswell. I got to have Lacey Daniel on for a little bit to talk to her what she thought about the game. But I mean, I want to commend Roswell. They fought back in this game. They were down 28-7. I mean, Gainesville had all the momentum. It looked like they could run away with this game, but they battled back, nearly tied it at the end. I mean, that's a group last week. Thomas County Central, they're down 24-6, and they come back and win a game 42-34. So what do you think head coach Chris Pruitt has done with that group just to kind of battle through that adversity all year long and just be, willing to keep battling back and put themselves in position to contend and try to win?
I think we saw it with both teams. I said that I felt like either one could have comebacks. I think they both kind of did in the last round. Gainesville coming back against Houston County, Roswell's incredible comeback. I just think you saw two teams that were just in the fight the entire game. It's like even at the end, Gainesville had the lead. It's like, okay, Roswell's going to give themselves a chance to win this ball game, and they did. So I just think that says that it really is that complementary football, both sides of the ball, a true team effort week in and week out. I just think what Roswell's done, they have a great culture over there, a great program. That was a outstanding season coming off last year as well. And I just think if those teams played 10 times, I think you would get maybe even an even split, because they just were trading punches all night long. And if not for Gainesville's fast start, the big kickoff return to answer the early Roswell touchdown by Darius Cannon, that was huge. Yeah, the Darius Cannon touchdown grab, and then the Trey Reese, and then exactly. I mean, they came out to such a fast start, but I mean, Roswell just methodically chipped away with it with big play after big play. But I was impressed with some of the big plays Gainesville's defense made. I thought they tackled pretty well. They looked really good up front early, giving them the opportunity to go into the half with that lead. So I was impressed with Gainesville, though, because Roswell, they were fighting back furiously to get that win and force overtime. So that was a big sigh of relief at the end. And I mean, credit to both programs, but I was just impressed with what Gainesville has done year one. It's just, I think them even getting to the championship game, I know Coach Nibble would probably go crazy if you heard me say that, but that just validates because he showed up. He said, "We don't care about region championships here. Um, there's no tomorrow. I'm here to win. I'm here to compete for state championships." And look at that. I mean, they're in the state championship game year one. I think Gainesville has gotten better since we saw them against North Forsyth in that region championship, and I just am impressed with their speed, the speed they play on both sides of the ball, but especially offensively. I mean, they have some really explosive guys, and I think Baxter Wright's an exciting quarterback, but obviously they'll have a tough matchup next week. But I was just impressed. I thought we had one of the best games in the state tonight.
Yeah, easily. I mean, back and forth near the end, KJ Smith had a phenomenal game. I thought he was slinging the football well. He was hitting dots all over the field. He was extending plays with his legs when pressure was getting on him. I thought he performed brilliantly, and he's only going to get better. He's only a junior. Next year, he'll be a senior. I think he'll lose a couple people as far as the playmakers, but, I mean, he played great in this game. And I think Nakai Davenport, even though he was bottled up, he wasn't able to get a rushing touchdown. I thought he played great when they kind of slowed down their rushing attack, and he kept battling it back. And shout out to their defense. I thought their defense all year performed great. I thought their defense, when they needed it most to get stops, like they did in the second half, they only lost 7 points if you think about it. I mean, that was, huge, for them to kind of stop them, and be able to keep them in the game and be able to kind of get them a fighting chance. I thought that was big. But, man, let's mention, I mean, Langston Hughes is just on another level. I mean, 42-3 Rome. Rome's a good team, but they've did it all year long. Nobody's been able to stop them. I mean, do you give them any chance next week? I mean, what they do have going for them is that they have an offense that can score. They have an offense that has a lot of playmakers. They can beat you in the return game with Darius Cannon. They can get the ball to Trey Reese or him and kind of go off. They got Naeem Cheeks who can get the ball in the backfield or outside the backfield, catching the football and be very elusive running it. They got a pretty good quarterback in Baxter Wright. But do they have any chance against Langston Hughes? What do you think?
I think Hughes is still so pissed off from losing that game last year to Buford. That was a great run, and you could see it coming. 2 years ago, it's like, oh, this Hughes team, they've got some young guys that are going to be really good next season, especially in 2 years. Then they make the run last year, and as we said with Coach Vandergriff, with his young team last year, they make it to the state championship and win it. He says, well, this year it felt like we were playing with house money. He said, if you're going to beat us in the season, you better do it early because we're young. We're going to get better. This Hughes team, compared to last year, how much better they are, it's unbelievable. They were a state championship team last year against a Buford team that was just absolutely loaded once again, but that was their first time ever there. They gave themselves a chance to win. They missed a potential game-winning field goal at the end. And now I just think when you see what they've been doing week in and week out to get to this point, I think we are going to see them come out with so much motivation to just play well and kick ass. I just think it's going to be really tough because this is what they've been playing for all season.
Yeah, and I've talked to Coach Boone a couple times this year, and he's kind of outlined to me that, he kind of takes the approach of kind of letting his players, when they came into this year, it was like, you guys tell me what you think we need to do in order to, get back here and win it all. And he just let his players outline a plan for him. And I thought that was really good. And you're seeing the talent. They were to get JoJo Stone later in the year. They got so much talent. Jaquel Meadowbrook started them off tonight, I think, with 2 rushing touchdowns. They got a superior group. I think this is going to be a good matchup. I'm curious to see how Langston Hughes come out, how bad they want it. The seniors they have on that team. I think it'll be a good game. And real quick to address your question, Jimmy Cash, I think that would be an outstanding matchup. I definitely want to address that. Cedar Grove and Langston Hughes, if they ever played, dude, that would be superior. You got 2 phenomenal coaches, 2 programs that are elite in Georgia going up against each other head to head with nothing but studs all over the field. That's an elite matchup. And I told Craig when I even started here, because I'm still kind of, I guess you could say, new to the Score Atlanta. I've been here 3-4 months now. I said, why hasn't Buford and Grayson played? We're missing out on an already great matchup. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, they've never played in their history. Why has that not happened? Like, I live and love those big marquee matchups. Like Buford, we know 6A, now they're in 7A, big marquee matchup. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see the best go against the best and see who comes out victorious. So, obviously, I think that would be a great matchup if they ever played. But let's move to 5A.
Certainly.
Yeah, it's definitely. But let's move to 5A. Warner Robins, who you've been kind of high on, they upset Creekside last week. They get the big win against Cartersville. I mean, that's a storied program. They got Trevor Lawrence, what he's doing in the NFL now, what he did at Clemson. They got a bunch of studs all over the field. Malachi Jeffries, I think, has had a great year. He's underrated. The quarterback, Paul Gamble, stepped up big. But to hold them to only 10 points, what is going on in Warner Robins?
Yeah, I mean, last round, Cartersville was up 42-3 at the half on Coffee. Their offense has been outstanding this season, but as of late, they've just been playing their best football of the season. They came in red hot. I think Warner Robins, they just dominated the second half, and they've been in this position so many years in a row, just the 6 straight finals appearances. I think just it was a 3-3 game. They came out, they got comfortable, and then boom. I mean, they just dominated the second half, and then once they went into the locker room, it's like we were 1-4 to start the season. Everyone wanted to kick us out of the rankings. All those losses were super close. We just beat Creekside. Let's close this thing out. And they just dominated the ball game. It's just one of those nights where they pulled away in the second quarter, and you were not going to stop them. And if you look back at their previous playoff runs, I mean, they've had some absolutely dominant ones where teams aren't coming within 20 points the whole playoff. So they certainly know how to play well at the right time, and it's just been really impressive. Cartersville was definitely a legitimate contender, so I mean that's a big one. I'm really interested to see what they do against Ware County. Ware County, they're only giving up like I think 9-8 points a game this season.
Yeah.
They beat Dutchtown. Dutchtown actually was one of the teams that beat Warner Robins earlier this year. And so I just think that is a 1 versus 2 heavyweight fight right there.
Yeah, I agree. And, we'll leave it there for that. We already talked about 4A and kind of previewed that matchup with Cedartown and Benedictine. But let's move to 3A really quick. I mean, Cedar Grove, we had Cedar Grove coach on. They're going to play Sandy Creek, a very familiar opponent. They've played each other a lot over the last few years. That's a really good region. What chance do you give kind of, Sandy Creek in this game to kind of contend with Cedar Grove, who is a team that's been, I think, this 5th time in 8 years that they've been to the state championship game?
I think Sandy Creek, they know if they're going to win this game. I don't know if there's a better defense on third downs than what we've seen from Cedar Grove. Yeah. It's going to be 4-down territory. If they get on Cedar Grove's side of the field, that's how they're going to have to win, period. And you look at their last game, I think it was one of the more high-scoring games that Cedar Grove's had this season. It was like 42-35 or 49-35, something around that range. Whereas they came out against Carver, and that was more low scoring. I think it was like 20-12 or something like that. But the point is, Sandy Creek and Cedar Grove, when they played previously, that was a pretty high-scoring game. You look at what Cedar Grove's done these last weeks, though, it's like they've just clamped down and shut down. So I'm just interested to see if Cedar Grove is going to be able to spark anything to kind of pick up the pace of the game and kind of play to their strength. But I think it was just what I said when they went for it on 4th down, 4th and 12, and got a touchdown out of it. That's when they pulled away. Carver was leading that game after the first quarter, and then they fall 49-14. So it's just once they find an opening in the defense, that's what Sandy Creek's going to have to do. Otherwise, Cedar Grove will be comfortable and in control.
Yeah, I agree. I'm curious to see how Gamir Latimer looks kind of in that game. How the playmakers are going to be able to kind of perform against a really good secondary, Kaden Lee, Ohio State commit, kind of their edge rushers and how good they are. Everett Broussard, Donovan Green. That's going to be a good game. I think that's going to be another good state championship game to kind of look at. That'll kind of go back and forth. But I'm going to put my money on Cedar Grove, but I think that's going to be a really, really good game.
I think Lattimore had either 4 or 5 touchdowns tonight.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, 2A, what kind of stuff you in the results there? And kind of, preview the matchup for us in 2A.
So, Fitzgerald, they're back again. They won the state title last season. They were coming off a overtime win over Rockmart. I think their defense has been playing really well. They beat Fellowship Christian tonight 19-9. So holding Rockmart to like 14 points, that was big. Rockmart was scoring 48 points a game. So defensively, Fitzgerald, that's going to be their key. And then they're playing Thompson, who had that wild shootout win over South Atlanta, where they were just trading big plays at the end. The two teams had 9 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That's how explosive Thompson is. Appling County, who they beat tonight, is one of the better defensive teams year in and year out. But that was a rematch of last year's 3A, where Appling County won 21-7. So Thompson avenges that loss. So that's big for the Bulldogs. And then Thompson's only loss this season came to Burke County week 1. And Burke County is Thompson's biggest rival, and Burke County is a 4A school. So now Thompson's down in 2A. So I think they're really dangerous against Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald is the defending champs. Thompson hasn't been in this position since 2010, but I think just avenging the loss from last year against Appling County, going down to 2A, that's going to be a really good football game to watch.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, Thompson upset it South Atlanta. We both thought they were on a collision course to win it all the time. They had Jontez Adams, Keywan Brown, TJ Summerall. They had a really good group. So, I mean, Thompson, I think they're coming from the throne. I think they want to, win it all. And I think they got a really good group. So that's going to be a really intriguing matchup. And let's look to Class A Division 2. We can kind of start there. Kind of preview that matchup. What's the team, the results there?
Yeah, so Bowden has been outstanding this year. They're ranked number 1. I'm sure the sights and sounds from tonight's win were amazing. That's a just traditional program that has been waiting for a state title for a long time. I think the Class A Division II got a lot better than when Class A was just Class A private, Class A public, because now the bigger public schools are up in the Class A Division I. So Bowden, they have that foundation. They're comfortable in that classification, and then their win against against Lincoln County tonight. They have Dylan Atkins and Robert McNeil. Those are program guys, multiple year starters. They're both playing on both sides of the ball. They're both highly recruited, and they just balled out tonight against Lincoln County. Anytime Lincoln County scored, they immediately answered. Robert McNeil had 2 touchdown runs and 2 interceptions, including the game-clinching one. And then I think Dylan Atkins had 3 touchdowns after the first quarter. So that's who their leaders are. They played outstanding tonight. So I think Bowden, they just have had a fantastic season. And then their opponent's going to be interesting. That Schley County, whatever. I know Kaylee, it's like I can never tell because in the post game they keep arguing. It's like, this is how you say it, this is how you say it. It's just like, one of you's right, one of you's
It's
wrong.
like you and Doherty.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Could never get that one right.
The Wildcats, let's call them. But no, Schley County, they had a 35-6 win over Johnson County tonight. They were up 35-0, forced a running clock in the fourth. Their quarterback, I think his name is Cananza. He's leading the entire Division II in passing. That's what they want to do. And then defensively, they've been outstanding. They have 26 team interceptions this season. They're ball hawks. They're aggressive, and they basically shut out Johnson County until the fourth quarter. So that'll be a really big matchup. Schley County has never been in the state championships before, and then Bowden, they're searching for the first one in a long time. So I think that'll just be a great matchup. I think those teams have been the premier in Class A Division II this year.
And kind of last thing, far as just the divisions, Division I, what kind of sense should have in that matchup? I know it'll be Prince Avenue Christian. They're going to be taking on Swainsboro, I believe. They had a narrow victory tonight. What do you think about that matchup?
Yeah, I think Irwin County has played in like the last 8 finals. So that streak stopped tonight. That was a huge win. So Scott Roberts, that's Swainsboro's head coach. He's actually an Irwin County graduate. We talked to him this week about going to the Indians, his former school, and just whether they would be receptive to him or not, but he said no. They're diehards at Irwin County. They don't care if he's an alum, and that was just a really tough football game. My preview's up at scoreatl.com, but let's
Tap in.
see. I wrote it down right here. So, yeah, the first time they're going to the state championships is 2000. That was when Raven Teague was their head coach. They got a game-winning field goal as time expired, and so they would have been up at the half, I believe, 21-7, but they missed their first PAT. So keep that in mind. You miss an early PAT, and then you have to rely on a walk-off kick. So that's huge. And then they tried to go for 2 and didn't get it. So they were up 19-7 at the half. And then Cody Soliday, that's Irwin County's quarterback, he's a coach's son. He brought him back. They end up getting the 21-19 lead in the first minute of the fourth quarter. So Irwin County was up 21-19. They end up forcing a turnover on downs. They drive all the way down the field and get the walk-off field goal. So that was a huge win. And yeah, it's close, but I'm telling you, Irwin County is top-notch. They're outstanding. They are the team you need to beat if you're going to take out your opponents in that classification if Irwin County is there. So big win for Swainsboro, big win for Coach Roberts against his former team. And then what was the other one in Class A Division I? Who had that one? Oh, yeah, this is Prince Avenue.
Yeah, that's the one I wrote up. Yeah.
So I think with Prince Avenue, they struggled against Metter. They ran only 34 plays offensively. That shows, as he said, how tough the losses of Bailey Stockton. He was definitely their probably most impactful player outside of their quarterback, Aaron Philo. He did everything for them. Can play defense, can play offense, the special teams, all that. So they've had to adapt to that. I think you saw that Aaron Philo had to run the ball a little bit more. They aren't airing it out as much. So I just think they've had 2 outings without Bailey. They'll have time to prepare. They still can throw the ball exceptionally well. Aaron Philo, he's been there before. They won it last year. So I think it will be a good football game. But it would have been a good football game if it was Irwin County against Prince Avenue. It would have been a toss-up, in my opinion. But the fact that Swainsboro just had that win, I think it's just going to still be an outstanding matchup, and it's that public versus private. So I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think it was some great state championship matchups. Can't wait for next week. I know teams are going to prepare all week. It's for all the marbles, man. And some kids, this will be their last high school game. So, definitely, some big things going on next week, and we can't wait. We're definitely excited.
Yeah, did I see that right? Did USC lose?
Yeah, we got to talk about that. Yeah, so all our audience, I don't know what happened. We were in here doing the high school, and it was 17-3. I thought they were rolling, so I got to go back and look at that. So if you guys don't know that are tuning into our live post game, we also do a show on Tuesdays called Underrated and Overlooked Podcast.
That's crazy.
But yeah, we're going to definitely break that down because we actually mentioned that on Tuesday. That was kind of a matchup to keep an eye on. They lost. Don't be surprised if Kansas State possibly even upsets TCU tomorrow. Hey, anything can happen. I don't know what happened, but they won 42-24 or something.
Yeah,
it
was
42-24. That was insane.
The Bama fans are popping out of the woodwork again.
Now Ohio State has a chance. So, we'll see, man. That's really intriguing what happened. But SC always blows it, though. Like whenever you link any Pac-12 team, they always blow it. All this hype was USC this, USC that, and they can't even beat Utah. So that's the second time this year they lost to them. And then I heard Caleb Williams actually had on his nails painted. I'm not gonna say it because we're live, but F Utah on his nails.
Oh, that's smart.
All that, and you lost.
And then who did Utah beat that we were talking about earlier?
Oh,
wasn't that one of the teams that's still in the conversation, or no?
It was USC. Remember, they lost early to Florida. That's the only team. They didn't play Georgia. They didn't play Michigan. Yeah, it was USC. Yeah, so they got their revenge and beat them again. So, yikes.
That changes everything.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, guys, we appreciate you tuning in, man. This has been a great post-game show. We've had a lot of fun. Thanks to all our fans for tuning in. throughout the show, we've had 4, 5, 6 people.
That's a hot take. Jimmy Cash says if TCU loses, they are still
no
in.
way. No, they haven't played it hard enough of a schedule. No way they're in. You're not going to put TCU, a one-loss TCU, over an Ohio State that lost to Michigan, who's number 2. And no way. No. They will go down for sure. I don't think the committee would think that. Actually, a quick update before we actually wrap up the show. We're actually moving to a 12-team playoff in 2024, sooner than expected. It's supposed to be 2026, but I don't know if you heard, Rose Bowl actually was like the kind of basically, I don't know if you would say program, but the kind of I guess say backbone that wasn't really like allowing it. They're the reason why it was prolonging so long. But they've actually came to a settlement agreement, and they're actually cool with it now. So 2024, we're gonna get a 12-team playoff. What do you think about that?
Nice. Yeah. So what did you say? It was originally 2026?
Yeah, that's when it was gonna kind of come into play. But since
it's just gonna be crazy no matter what. But
yeah,
that'll be exciting. And thank you so much, Jimmy. So that's the best advice ever. I can do that. Door T. Thank you. And then Schley. Yes. See, that's all I needed. Is all I needed. Thank you so much.
Jimmy coming in.
Now I need to send that to Kaylee now.
Yeah, the Jimmy coming in clutch, our loyal fan who's been in all of our casts. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. It is 1 a.m. We appreciate all our loyal fans for tuning in. I mean, getting 6, 7 people. I think 8 was the highest we got on the stream. Is super cool. We'll be back Tuesday. We hope you guys enjoyed this semifinal post-game show, talking about all GHSA playoffs and, recapping all the action. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Any lasting words, Craig?
Nope. Just go to scoretl.com. We got some more game previews, and we'll have our championship coverage. We're going to be busy early next week trying to get out all our previews. So be sure to check that out. And, yeah, it's going to be fun to see who comes out this year.
Definitely. And go to Score Atlanta's YouTube page, TikTok, Twitter. We're going to have all the highlights. If you didn't see the game, Gainesville versus Roswell game, it was some highlight reel plays for both teams. So we're going to have that up later on tomorrow as well. But we hope you guys have a good night, and we'll see you guys in the next one. We out. Peace.